What's up, people? I am back. Sorry, I'm doing this. This is technically a retake because I did an actual original take of this video several hours ago, but I fucking was about to upload it. I just realized, shit, this is upside down, so I had to scrap it. I just didn't have a chance to do it earlier, so I'm doing it now. But today we are talking about the fucking Flash. This is a movie that, I mean, we all know about the whole Ezra Miller stuff, and I'm not going into that. I kind of want to just stick to the movie, even though, yeah, he's a piece of shit person. Um, this movie just wasn't the fact that when I first initially they were going to do a Flashpoint thing, I was like thinking maybe because I've always wanted a live action Flashpoint. I think Flashpoint is easily one of the greatest DC stories, and that animated movie is so awesome. If they just basically did that as a movie, that would work, but they didn't do that. We got this bastardized, and the fact that this movie was supposed to technically come out in like 2016 and it didn't come out till now because it was supposed to come out like 2018, I think, and they announced this in like 2016, 15, and like it just that's what we got. The CGI is one of the worst CGI. Like, I've never seen CGI so bad. Like, it makes Henry Cavill's CGI stash in Josstice League look like Jurassic Park. It really is how bad it is. It's just there are points where I'm like, I can't even fucking look at it. Like, this movie is just fucking ugly to look at. Like, this fucking shitty CGI in every scene. And it's not even just like the fact that Andy Machete's trying to come out and be like, oh, the CGI is meant to be bad. I'm like, the CGI is worse than fucking like is worse in every scene. It's not even just like the Flash scenes. I think he's trying to make it like, oh, it's distorted and like fuck off. It's not even just in the Flash scenes. The Zod scenes, he looks terrible, and I get it. They have to make him look like what he did back in 2013, but the CGI looks horrible. It looks like, if you remember that movie Beowulf, where it's like that mix of CGI, 3D rendered mixed with like live action, kind of like it's supposed to look somewhat realistic. There was a lot of points that looked like that, but at least that movie, we knew going in it was supposed to look like that. This is supposed to be a movie that's supposed to be real life, at least in the sense of live action, and it looks half the fucking time it looks like just a bunch of rubber. Like, what am I fucking looking at? Just every scene, it was distracting. It was hard to, like, obviously I knew the story was going to be shit because it was a shitty attempt at Flashpoint, but it's like, why didn't you, but it was just hard to get into the story because how bad it is just to look at. I'm like, the CGI is horrible. I've never seen CGI this bad. Like, this is up there probably for me for worst CGI ever in film. Like, it was so bad to look at. Like, and it's crazy because, and I'll admit, I didn't see this shit in theaters. I watched it on my phone, like I did with Guardians, and I did that because I don't want to give Disney money. Guardians looked better. Like, it looked better. Not one point did I'm like, the CGI looks horrible. So it's like, what the fuck? Like, you had like so long to work on this, and the CGI was that is like abysmal CGI. I've never it's almost like its own category of like, this is how you don't do CGI, because what the fuck? It was so bad to look at. But we all know the story. I'm not going to go into the story because it's a bastardized attempt at Flashpoint, and it just doesn't work. There's no point of Sasha Calais Supergirl. There really isn't. She's just there. Like, she's supposed to be the Superman role. That's it. That's all she's there for. They don't have. It's almost like they didn't write an arc for her. I wonder if maybe in a different cut or in an extended or something, there's more for her to do, because she didn't do shit in this movie. Because they find her, she beats up some humans, which basically, yeah, she just kills like a bunch of humans. Which is fine because he did that in the comic, so it's whatever. And then she fights Zod. That's kind of it. She doesn't have like an arc or anything. It's bad, man. And it sucks because she's actually not like one of the worst parts of the movie. Like I thought she was gonna be way worse. I was thinking she was gonna be like uber Mary Sue, and she's not. And so it's like not like she couldn't have potential. It was just even though she doesn't look like Supergirl, we all know. But this is just they didn't have fucking shit for her to do. It's like I don't know what if there's a long cut. There has to be because she had. It's like why did you cast her in the movie? You could have just easily just did Henry Cavill Superman, have him do the same thing. If you're just gonna have him just be there and have a quick fight scene with Zod and not actually do anything, and then not even be part of the ending arc or the ending story besides what Flash realizing he has to or reverse current timeline Flash. So the story is um, current timeline Flash wants to get, kind of like the original, wants to get back his mom. So he goes back. In this version, instead of, in Superman being taken by the government, it's by Russians and it's Supergirl. And in this universe, it's Batman is Keaton's instead of Affleck's. No Wonder Woman. So basically then he meets a 2013 version of himself and something happens where the 2013 version gets his powers and his powers gets taken. It's stupid. They have where the current timeline Flash gets his powers taken. I don't know why. Because of some reason the lightning, like, because he gets hit by lightning, it takes his powers away. Because in the original, it happened because in that world, he never got hit by lightning. So it made sense. They should have just did that. I don't know why they... And then something else happens to where, so he's never got his powers, so something else happens to where, and I get it, they had to have it to where they both had powers by the end, but it was stupid how they did it. Their fucking banter was easily some of the most painful thing I've ever sat through. It was not funny, and it was just two of the same Ezra just fucking jabbering at each other. It's like, this should have just been it, because originally it was supposed to be like a Flash and Cyborg. It kind of starts off at that in the original. It was Flash and Cyborg. It should have just been that. Even if you had to recast Ray Fisher, just do it. Doing a nose, at least have a different kind of character for Flash to bounce off. When it was just him and fucking Ezra, it was some of the worst shit oh my god, it was not funny. It was, I don't know what they were going for. It was some of the worst humor, I'm putting humor in quotes, because that was not, I don't fucking know what the fuck that was. It was, I didn't, I guess positive is I did like Ben Affleck. I liked his scene. Besides his suit looks fucking shit when you got a close look at it, but I did like his scene where he was talking to Barry about time. That it really showed me I think he's a great Bruce Wayne. He's my favorite live action Bruce Wayne. You all know he's my favorite Batman, but I also think he's the best Bruce Wayne. I think he nails the duality of both, and the fact that in that scene, like, that's Batman, and it's like we should have had more of him. That's all that kind of made me want, though. It's just more Ben Affleck, but yeah, nothing else. Like, there's really nothing else in this movie. Like, Dark Flash was pointless. Sorry. No, fuck it. I'm keeping that in. There you go. Fuck it, we're doing it live. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Fuck. Anyway, fuck it, we'll do it live, guys. Anyway, so Dark Flash is just I don't know why there was no reason they couldn't do Reverse Flash, because they even fucking Andy Muschietti apparently came out. It was like, oh, they hinted, or Andy Muschietti, it was some of it from the movie, hinted that basically it was Eobard Thawne who killed his mom. So why the fuck you just couldn't put Reverse Flash in the movie? Why? It made no fucking sense. If you're gonna have him hint at it, just have him in the fucking movie. because there was no villain to carry the story. Because especially if you're going to do a superhero story, I would even argue it's general, but maybe comedy sometimes you don't necessarily always need a villain, but in a superhero story you need a fucking villain. What carried that first Spider-Man movie was Green Goblin. Man of Steel was Zod. You don't have a villain like that in this. Zod doesn't count because he's barely in the movie. He doesn't show up until the last 10 minutes because it really shows me that Michael Shannon was only around for a bit. He was like, hey, I'll do a couple scenes and then I'll read some lines, because he didn't give a fuck. The way he delivered the lines, there was nothing there. No emotion, nothing. And that fucking ending with the cameos is just some of the worst shit. Because it wasn't like they were actually part of the story. Like in, let's say, whatever you think of the movie, No Way Home, at least the cameos in that, they were actually part of the story. Same with, like, Across the Spider-Verse. They were actually part of the story. The different variants of Spider-Man you saw. It wasn't like they were just there for Memberberry. A bad one with, like, bad CGI. You have fucking Christopher Reeve, who just... One of the things about his Superman is he was charismatic and he's full of life. There was nothing there. He would just look like CGI just looking. Nick Cage's was kind of cool because at least he was fighting the spider. But you have George Reeves. It just soulless. It was bad, man. Adam West. I think you saw John Wesley Shipp. And it's weird. You couldn't just get actual actors. Like, you could have got Brandon Routh to come back and have him just be the stand-in for Christopher Reeve. That's kind of what he was. That's what they did at Superman Returns. So why not just do it here? For fuck's sake, Hollywood. It's just dumb. Ugh. Whatever I think of Grant Gustin's Flash, you should have had him in the movie. You know, that could have been a pop. But people genuinely would pop for that. But no, you didn't. You had to do soulless CGI Christopher Reeve. And then you had to fucking bring in George Clooney at the end. Like, that was real. That was one of those things. I thought that was a meme. I didn't think that was going to be real. But I heard that was thrown out there because the leaks hadn't come out yet. Like, that wasn't out. Like, you just kind of heard he was out there, but you didn't see the pics. So I didn't think it was real. Because, like, the Nicolas Cage pics and the Christopher Reeve pics were already coming out. So I didn't see the George Clooney one, but then eventually it did. And it's like, wow, that's fucking real. And yeah, that's real. So he gets back to his world, seemingly. And yeah, it's George Clooney's Batman for some fucking reason. And I didn't stay for the post-credit, but it's Flash telling Aquaman basically the movie. That's it. It literally was pointless. This whole movie was stupid. And the fact that you took so long and that's what you fucking made is just insane. Feel bad for Michael Keaton. I feel bad for Ben Affleck for coming back for this. You would have been better off just having Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton just doing a team-up movie on their own. That actually I would watch. I think that would make money. Oh, and it was cool seeing Jeremy Irons again. I thought that's probably all right, but aside from that, nothing. But anyway, guys, tomorrow, if the Blackening isn't up by tomorrow, I'm probably just going to do either my top 10 wrestling or I'll find like another video to do. We'll see. Maybe, actually, you know what? Tomorrow, I might save the wrestling for later next week. I think tomorrow I'm going to do the fixing on the Flash. I was going to do it like later next week, but I think it makes more sense since I'm reviewing the Flash right now to do that video. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Either that, or like I said, the Blackening review, if that is up by tomorrow, but it'll be one of those two. And pretty much it. We're basically just gonna do Flashpoint. The actual Flashpoint story. Because my thing is, if they were just gonna do Flashpoint, they should have just fucking went all the way. I understand it's definitely too soon to do it. And that's a later Flash story, but if you're gonna do it, you go all the fucking way. You go all the fucking way with it. As much as I love Michael Keaton, I would have been better off having Thomas. You have fucking Jeffrey D. Morgan be Thomas Wayne Batman. You get Lauren Cohen to be the female Joker. That would have been cool to see in theaters, like live action. If you just nailed that, if you get Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa, you have to do the Atlantean Amazon War. You could have Deathstroke in there. You have version of Lex Luthor. Like there's a bunch of characters in it, like Shazam. Randy gets fucking murdered by Wonder Woman, but like you would have if you just did that instead of this fucking bastardized gobbledygook of a, because it's hard to call it a movie because there was no real focus. Like I said, there's no villain. A villain is what carries. That's one thing that actually carried the Flashpoint story was fucking Reverse Flash. Reverse Flash carries that fucking story because we find out he's the one who killed. Sorry, he's the one who killed Barry's mom. It's like, what the fuck? Why did you decide? Let's have a movie with no fucking villain, because especially a superhero movie, because you have no one to carry the plot. Because you have now we're just following these fucking two Barrys, and Zod doesn't count. And I'm gonna get more into that later. So let's just get into it. Let me cheers, and then we'll get started. So the movie starts with fucking basically a Justice League action scene, which I'll admit, even though this should have been like at night, because it was kind of weird seeing Batman save people at like 9 a.m. in the morning or fucking. It looked like it was early fucking morning, dude. It was like kind of weird. Like he probably should have did this at night or even like maybe evening time. It would have been better. But it was cool seeing Ben Affleck at least one last time when he was not in this like when he's in the bike. He was cool, and it's just when he got off in that shot of him when he's off the motorcycle and he's just standing there. He looks terrible in his suit, especially because how good his suits looked in the other films, and it's just in this, it looked like shit. But it was cool seeing him, and the Flash scene with the babies was just cringy. So basically, what he was doing was this was supposed to be him saving. Because if you remember the Quicksilver scenes from X-Men: Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, where they did the slow-mo, and that's kind of what they were doing here. So he was making something in the microwave, so he takes that out, eats it, and then so he could kind of, it's supposed to cushion the landing because the babies were like falling off the building, and this just, it was cringe, because all the babies were dog shit CGI, and this is where I'm like, we're only like 5-10 minutes in, and I'm already like, this CGI is just so bad. It's so like, I can't look at it. It's like hard to look at because I'm like, what? It's like, how do you do this? What VFX studio did you go to? Like, this is not. How is this a 2023 movie? Like, that's the thing that astounds me. Hold on, let me check something. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I'm not fucking upside down. But anyway, it's like it was so bad, and then I think it didn't help because of the yellow. Like that's one reason I get some people didn't like that change in the Zack Snyder DCU, but I'm sorry on a visual level because even in this movie you see the blue lightning, it looks better. When it's the yellow, it makes it look kind of worse. Even though it is in the comics, it just doesn't look good live action. And it didn't help that the CGI was just terrible too. So it was cool seeing Wonder Woman for the last time, but it was like just for a bad gag with the lasso. Like you have Flash coming out and admitting like he's never been with a woman, which is like, even though Flash is supposed to be a womanizer, but okay. Then we get like a moment of him remembering, like trying to help because he has to try to help his dad, who his dad in this is recast, and it didn't work for me because the actor who played his dad is a guy who played Dr. Manhattan in Watchmen. He was so much better, and at least that's the one thing about Snyder Cut's Justice League. I actually liked his chemistry with his dad in that movie. In this, the dad he had just did not work for me. He's a good actor. I've seen him in other stuff. Just did not work for me in this movie. And it could just be that he's a new actor. It doesn't work because on that level, but there was nothing there. Like any time they had scenes together. So we get a cool scene between Bruce and Barry. Bruce telling Barry about time and why it's not a good idea to go back and try to save it and change time. I thought that was a cool scene. And this is where reverse current. At this point in the movie, I didn't fully hate current timeline Barry. He wasn't full on annoying. Granted, he had Iris West in the movie, which I don't know why she was here. It was like almost they had to have her because she's supposed to be his Lois Lane, but she's not in the movie much. I think she pops up in the beginning after this scene with Bruce, and then she pops up in the end. That's kind of it. And obviously, she's not going to be in the middle because he's in a different timeline. But it makes no sense why she's in this movie. You could have just written her out, honestly. Or you just have her in the one scene and that's it. Like, I just think you probably would have been better off just having her in the end. Honestly, just by itself. She doesn't pop up in the beginning. She popped up in the end. I think you would have been better off doing that. It was so weird. Because it's like almost out of obligation you had to have her in the movie. Because, she's Flash's love interest. But she's not really the love interest in this movie because she's not in it much. So, but this cool scene with Bruce was good. It really showed that Ben Affleck could have been a great Batman in a solo movie, and it's really frustrating because that's all that scene really showed me. It just because it was good. He carried it but unfortunately he's gone after this, so he goes back, and this is where he goes back to a different 2013, and he meets his fucking current self, and the pain was just really started here. The humor, the banter just didn't work. It should have been like Flash and Cyborg, because in the Flashpoint movie, it was Flash and Cyborg for a little bit before they meet Thomas. I think that should have been. You needed a different duo like that, not fucking two Barrys. That was stupid. It was fucking awful, and it doesn't help it's Ezra Miller, but just the humor was just bad, man. I wanted to just eat my phone after a while. I was just like, this is fucking annoying. And you're there with them for at least like an hour or almost. It was something like that. Or at least it fucking felt like it. It was fucking after that, I think once Barry explains like what happens, and this is where we get the Man of Steel fucking Zod message, like, in the movie. Which, let me say, looked horrible. Look, if you remember how cool that scene was in Man of Steel, they took all that, you basically just it was like they made a dollar store version of that scene. What it felt like to me. It was even done shittier. It was done cheaper. It was like that scene where he popped up on screen. It was clearly CGI in that, but they make it look good. The CGI in this just was horrible. It was like, and they didn't try. And even Zod reading the lines for that, he just didn't care. Michael Shannon was like, he just read his lines because I think he just knew he was going to be CGI'd anyway. That's what I wonder. I wonder if it's just because he's like, he knew it was just going to be CGI, so it's just like, why give a shit? Or if he just saw the script and maybe like, why give a shit? And I don't blame him if that's the case, because it was bad, man. He clearly didn't care. There was just no, compared to how he was recently he was in Bullet Train last year. He was really good in that, or him as Zod in Man of Steel. He was good in that movie. It was just, in this, he just didn't care. So Barry goes, it kind of explains past Barry, about like basically how like there's a Superman and they have to find the Justice League, but unfortunately in this world, Victor never got his powers, so that's basically how they explain why he's not in the fucking movie. Aquaman's a dog in this universe. He never was, his mom never came out of the sea to meet his dad. So, and I'll admit that scene was kind of funny when he called his dad, and his dad talking about a goddess coming out of the sea and he looks over at his fat wife. I thought that was funny. That was like probably the only real funny scene in the movie. And we find out that the Batman in this universe is Keaton's. So they go to the Batcave, or not the Batcave, but like the Wayne Manor, and yeah, we get Bruce Wayne, older Bruce Wayne, Michael Keaton, trying to fight them. They explain what's going on, and I don't know why they had to make him look all disheveled. Why couldn't he just? Because there's a scene later where he has like his hair cut and stuff. Like, why couldn't he just look like that from the beginning? Why did you have to give him like this hobo look? All it really just reminded me is just Jake Skywalker. Granted, they do not do that to him in this movie. There's some stupid decisions he does, like the way he kind of flies. There's a scene later where he flies into a ship. That was fucking stupid. With the shield, he clearly could see the shield. It was shit like that. But he at least the fight, they let him be a badass. They didn't, but it's like not enough to carry the film because he's only in it for a bit. And the Batman scenes are cool, but it's like I would have rather have just been Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne. I didn't need to see Keaton. It just watching him in this just kind of solidified that. He was good, but I just would have rather have just been a Thomas Wayne Batman. There was the movie didn't justify itself doing that decision. So he initially reluctant. That's the other part. I'm like, Batman wouldn't disagree to save Earth. Sorry, he would be ready to do it. But anyway, it was cool seeing the Batmobile, which even though he doesn't fucking use it, but the Batmobile was cool seeing that, and I did like the Batplane. So there was stuff like that. So we find out that Superman's being locked in a Russian prison. It turns out it's not Superman, it's Supergirl, who there's no point to her character. She doesn't have an arc at all. And yeah, you can argue Superman didn't have an arc in Injustice. In Flashpoint, but at least he still kind of did, because towards the end he gets his powers. That's almost like his arc. I think they should have just did that with her instead of. It seemed like they wanted to do her confronting Zod because we could find out that in this timeline that Superman was killed as a baby, so that's why there was no Superman ever. It was stupid. I think that's kind of a shitty way to have Henry Cavill go out. It was weird not having Henry Cavill, but you had at least some of the other Justice League there. But it was stupid. So they break her out. We get some more cool fight scenes with Keaton. They get confronted by robbers. Robbers, like by the Russians, and this is where Supergirl gets her powers. Kills a bunch of people, which is whatever. They go back to Wayne Manor. Some reason she has a suit now, which they don't even explain where it came from, but okay. I don't know if they just had it there at the base. Okay. She then goes to confront Zod, and I think that's where the others join. And the moments where Keaton just says his iconic lines, I just found cringy. Like when he says, "I'm Batman," I rolled my eyes up when they said it in the trailer. I rolled my eyes in the movie. Same thing with "Let's Get Nuts." It didn't feel authentic. It just felt like, you said the thing. I don't like that shit. For me, if you're gonna say the thing, I want it to feel earned, not just because you just said the thing to say the thing, and that's what it was in this for me. And yeah, this is where the stupidity gets even worse, because Zod, this is the point where you actually do see Zod, because he's not a factor in the movie at all. They try to make it seem like he's ominous because they constantly show you the footage of the ship, but in Man of Steel, Zod's a factor still. You don't just see the fucking ship over and over. They actually have him say lines. Feora, and that's the other thing. Feora is there to be like, at least there to be. They didn't do that in this time because they probably only had that actress only for a little bit too. Because Feora does shit in this movie. She has like one fight scene, and then yeah, Flash kills her, or one of the Flashes kill her. And so the Flashes fight the Kryptonians while Kara fights Zod. And yeah, this is where Zod tells her what happened to Superman, and it was just, Zod looks terrible. It was just like, and then they had because they had to try to make him look like 2013 Zod, like because Michael Shannon is clearly aged for 10 years, so it just didn't work what they were fucking going for. The final fight was just a bunch of, it's even worse. It looked like a PS3 video game. This is the thumbnail you're gonna see for this video is from this fight, I think. And it just looks horrible. It's this bad shot of Supergirl. It's like, it looks like a video game. Like it might as well be like the fucking CGI Lion King. It was just like, how is this a live action movie? Like, Zod killing Supergirl makes no real sense. Like, because in every scenario, Zod kills Supergirl, and the Flashes try to stop it, and that causes starts fucking up time. Bruce Wayne or Keaton dies, which is dumb. The way they do it, he flies into a ship or into the ship with the shield initially. The second time, one of the Barrys goes back to try to stop it. They change it, but Batman dies in battle with one of the Kryptonians. And it was just, no. And this is where they start fucking up time. And this is where we can start getting the birth of Dark Flash. Because the other Flash wants to fucking keep saving people. And this is where and this is supposed to be the point of the movie where Barry, you're supposed to feel for him because he starts understanding what Bruce was trying to say. But it's like hard to care because how bad the CGI looks. It's frustrating that it's not Reverse Flash carrying the story because especially if you're gonna fucking announce that it's hinted, why didn't you just fucking have him in the movie? Because Dark Flash is stupid. He just looks like a fucking shitty villain that you would see in I love Power Rangers, but kind of like something in that or fucking like a cheap show, like something like in that vein. Like he would be a Power Ranger villain. No offense, but in a DC movie, I don't want to see that. It looks terrible. And there was no point to him. It's not like he had a fight. He shoots some lightning, and then the other Barry kind of sacrifices himself. So Barry goes back, fixes everything basically, and his dad is proven innocent still. And you think it's his regular timeline. He gets a date with fucking Iris, who there's no point to her fucking character in this movie. There's none, even for love interest, because you only see her in 2 scenes, and then the Bruce you see is fucking George Clooney. Which I should have mentioned the shitty cameos. Like you see George Reeves Superman, Christopher Reeves, which is just the CGI looks so bad. Christopher Reeves Superman is so full of life, and that is what you can't recreate that with CGI, and it just does not work. And doing that with fucking Nick Cage was cool because at least he was fighting the Spider, but it was still stupid. You could have easily just gotten actors to actually be part of the story and actually at least have them have dialogue. Them just looking and staring was fucking weird to me. They were staring while their worlds were getting destroyed. It was stupid. It was what the fuck? Why couldn't you actually have them act? Anyway. It's so frustrating. You could have did something better than this. You could have actually just did an actual Flashpoint and just, I don't know what they were going for with this bastard, a gobbledygook movie that's gonna just be forgotten about. And I would say it's worse than Black Adam. As Black Adam, at least visually, did not look horrible. This was just ugly. I can't look at this movie. It's one of those ugly fucking movies to look at because of the CGI. It's just so bad in every scene, especially in the end. You're just looking at it, just a bunch of just bad CGI and CG. It's just the Scorpion King and Mummy Returns is so much better than this shit. So yeah, this movie is a shit show. Do not watch it. I put the link straight up on my Twitter. Fucking watch it there. Do not watch this in theaters. It's not worth it because you're just gonna see even worse CGI just upscaled. You're better off just watching it on your phone or on a computer. It's just there's no point. But yeah, it's a shit show, and I'm at least happy to hear it's not really doing well in theaters. I'm wondering if people just realize either the Ezra Miller stuff or if it's just there's no interest. Either way, it's good because this movie isn't good. Easily one of the worst DC films. Probably even worse than some of the even worse DC films, like a Superman 4 or Superman Returns. Because at least Superman Returns and those other movies have better CGI. Like this movie, I can't even fucking look at it, man. I can't. I can't. Anyway, tomorrow, like I said, either gonna review The Blackening if it's up, or I'll do my best to try to fix this piece of shit and actually try to make something out of it. Because this is clearly like a bunch of endings, a bunch of shit was supposed to happen, and this is what we get. So, fuck this movie. It's not as bad as Rise of the Beast, or Little Mermaid, but this is fucking bad. So, anyway, I'll talk to y'all later or tomorrow. Peace.